First of all, what it does is it's very obvious. It's a youth movement going on in the Cleveland Browns. Now, we talk about the Cleveland Browns, and we've been talking about rebuild for the last probably 31 years. So I'm not really sure how you can say this youth movement or this rebuild is different than any other rebuild. But I do sense it's a little bit different because Todd Monken, offensive-minded coach, and I don't believe it was all Todd Monken. I think it was a philosophy change. I think it was an emphasis on whomever or whatever the case may be. But overall, no coaches, offense, defense, or head coach are currently with the Baltimore Ravens that was on that team. So you got to imagine all the people who've moved on to different areas, like Todd Monken with the Cleveland Browns, are now trying to establish that, hey, it wasn't me, it was them. So he's going to put some of the guys that he wants to see attack multiple levels of the offense. And yes, that will help Jerry Jeudy. But it also is saying we're going youth. We want to go.
And you draft a receiver in the first round and the second round. This is a very important year for Jerry Jeudy, not just maybe with the Browns, but for his NFL future, wherever he might go next. If it's not in Cleveland, this is a year he needs to go out there. It just happens to guys, but it was a big part of, you're right, his season. He had 10 drops. I mean, that's not on the quarterback, really. That's mostly, obviously, on you as the wide receiver. I think that was second most in the NFL. So that was something that obviously, really reared its head this past.
And then he was like, all right, I guess we're done here. And he was able to get the value out of it. And he was able to basically predict that he was done. If you believe that Jerry Jeudy is actually going to end up in a downward spiral and never show anything what he did or anything close to what he did 2 years ago, then yeah, you get any sort of value. This has got to be on the table.
I think Jerry Judy's in a really interesting situation in 2026 because I think if he shows up early and he looks like 2024 Jerry Jeudy, the Browns are going to be able to come back and go, that's another, they're going to be able to go back to this trade was a win for us. If he goes out there and again seems to be not happy and seems to be kind of contentious with the media, which kind of belies that maybe there was some tension in the locker room that was kind of underreported. If that continues, I'll tell you, I don't think Todd Monken's dealing with 17 games in that crap.
Meanwhile, he's also taking away balls from young players. He's taking away a lot of opportunities from even guys like Isaiah Bond, but also the two rookies that we added as well. Concepcion, Denzel Boston are going to need their share. And so I don't know. I feel like this. I feel like I don't know why we're not talking about Jerry Jeudy potentially being traded, but I feel like we should be.
I think I wouldn't even say traded. Like, I think Jerry Jeudy is on roster watch.
Season, the other part that, as you mentioned, some guys on notice, Steve, he has no guaranteed money after this year. And play well in a new system.
A little bit I push back. I disagree. Just because you know how this league is about speed. You can't grow speed. You can't create it. You can't coach it, right? All you do is try to maintain it and try to control it. And Jerry Jeudy does have that speed, so he will get a number of more opportunities.
I was never saying he wouldn't get a job. I'm saying
okay.
That's going to change what
you're talking about
the numbers
top
they're looking at. Yeah, I'm going to say like the numbers that he could be looking at his next spot if he does depart.
Lance Reisland said that he could see Jerry Jeudy having a big season. Nick Wilson said he could see Jerry Jeudy not making the team. What type of season do you think we could get out of Jerry Jeudy?
Making those one-handed grabs.
Those are very different opinions of Jerry Jeudy right there, Mary Kay, on this station.
Well, I really do think it's an opportunity for Jerry to rebound. He did not fare well with all the lack of continuity last year and everything that was going on at quarterback. He's working really, really hard this offseason. He seems rejuvenated.
It'd be threads or whatever the paddock. Quit out there yapping and turn off your cap. Quit making it happen. I'm not the one ratting. More than sporadic, more like automatic. Dog, don't put that past me, dog. What you said? Knocking money off. I'm knocking that money off. Cause that shit in.
And the best way to steady the ship is to get a lot of young, talented playmakers. And I believe that they've done that. And with getting those young guys, they've also put some veterans on notice that they have to raise their game as well. Let's start off with the leader in the hen house, right? year and a half ago, Pro Bowler, top 100 player in the National Football League, and however, had a very interesting 2025 season. Would you say, or am I just being a little bit too critical?
But it's going to come down to, I think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. He's going to get his chances. He's still going to be the number one receiver, or at least he's going to start out the season as the number one wideout. So he'll have an opportunity to go out there and have that 1,000-yard season again and have that Pro Bowl season again, and it will be interesting. He and Shador Sanders did not have chemistry on the field last year. They just did not. We all saw it. There were times where they even argued, and we could see that captured on film. So those two guys, if Shador wins the job, they have to make sure that they have their act together. And if Deshaun wins the job, then they have to find some chemistry, and I think they've already been doing that, those two. So I think he has a real opportunity here, and he will for sure get his chances.
That could change. He'll always have, interest, you're right, coming after this year. What I wanted to ask you, and this was a part of it, and I know I've talked about this a little bit, with the supporting cast around him possibly changing. We saw how good Harold Fannin was at the tight end spot in his rookie year. He might be the most reliable pass catcher actually on this team right now.
Got David Ayuk out of there.
Yep, yes, he did, man. He said, hey, listen, I can play. Even though Greg Olsen says I run funny, I can play really well. But is there a better supporting cast for
You still haven't got over that, huh?
I haven't gotten over it yet. What? All right, listen. With a better supporting cast, which it does look like that's the case for Jerry Jeudy in 26, how much does that change for him if there's a better supporting cast around him in terms of maybe he doesn't have to carry the passing game, a little less pressure on his shoulder? Like, how does that change what you see from Jerry Jeudy? Maybe another eyeball is going somewhere else on the defensive side of the ball. Does that help him as he tries to bounce back from 25?
Yep.
Welcome back to A Sports Zone USA, the channel where we break down the real stories behind the stats, the rosters, and the reputations. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now because we are just getting started. Today we are talking about one of the most watched men heading into the 2026 NFL season, Cleveland Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. And if you think this is just another off-season hype video, stick around because what is actually happening in that receiver room is a whole lot more complicated than one training clip. Let us be direct. Jerry Jeudy is entering this season with something that goes beyond the usual preseason chatter. He is entering it with a reputation that took a genuine hit during the 2025 campaign. The numbers are not easy to spin: 10 drop passes, not borderline incompletions, not bad throws that were unfairly charged against him, catchable footballs that ended up on the turf. That kind of production, or lack of it, is the type of thing that follows a receiver into the film room, into coaching conversations, and eventually into contract discussions. Now context matters. Cleveland was not exactly running a model operation at the quarterback position last year. The Browns cycled through signal callers, and inconsistency at that spot absolutely creates downstream effects across the entire offense. When a receiver is catching throws from multiple quarterbacks with different arm angles, timing rhythms, and comfort levels, it changes how plays develop. That is not an excuse. It is simply part of the full picture. But here is the thing, 10 drops is still 10 drops. Regardless of who is under center, a professional receiver at the top of the depth chart has to be the anchor. When the ball is in the air and it arrives in a catchable window, the only acceptable result is a secured possession. Jeudy did not deliver that at a high enough rate last season, and the league noticed. What makes this situation different from your average bounce-back narrative is what is happening around Jeudy rather than just to him. The Cleveland Browns did not stand still this offseason. They added weapons. They brought in younger receivers who are hungry, athletic, and eager to prove they belong. The wide receiver room that Jeudy once owned with relative comfort has become a genuine competition. That matters. In the NFL, depth chart positions are not awarded based on what you did 2 years ago. They are earned through what you show the coaching staff today, tomorrow, and every single day of training camp. A rookie entering camp does not carry the weight of past drops. He walks in with a clean slate and an opportunity to impress. Jeudy does not get that luxury. He carries every incomplete, every missed opportunity, and every critical question into every practice rep. That asymmetry is one of the hardest realities a veteran receiver faces. The younger players are allowed to develop. The veteran is expected to lead. Development means growth is acceptable. Leadership means the standard is already set, and falling below it is not treated the same way. Head coach Todd Monken has made it clear through his roster moves that this is a team in transition. The emphasis on younger playmakers is not subtle. The Browns are investing in speed, potential, and the energy that comes with hungry players trying to carve out a career. Jeudy sits inside that environment as the established name, but established names only carry value when the film backs them up. The financial reality compounds this further. Jeudy does not have guaranteed money protecting him beyond this season. That means every target, every catch, and every drop will be evaluated against what the organization is getting in return. Teams around the league have moved on from more decorated receivers for less. Cleveland is not sentimental, and Jeudy should understand that clearly. There is one voice in this conversation that has become particularly significant. Steve Smith SR, one of the toughest, most respected wide receivers in NFL history, has been vocal about his assessment of Jeudy. Smith is not a media personality who throws hot takes around for clicks. He played the position at the highest level for years. He survived contact, earned quarterback trust through consistency, and produced in moments when defenses knew exactly where the ball was going. When a player with that background questions whether a current receiver is truly reliable at the NFL level, people listen. And Smith's concerns about Jeudy have centered on something very specific. Can he be depended on when the game is real? Not when conditions are perfect. Not during a Thursday walkthrough, but when the defense is loaded, the pressure is collapsing the pocket, and the offense desperately needs a conversion. Smith has previously described Jeudy in terms that were far from flattering language that placed him in the average category rather than among the elite receivers in the game. That label sticks. It follows a player into every broadcast conversation, every scouting report, and every offseason evaluation. Jeudy cannot argue his way out of that designation. He cannot post his way out of it. The only currency that buys him back is performance. The interesting thing about Smith's most recent comments is that the tone appeared slightly more measured. Whether that represents genuine optimism or simply a willingness to give Jeudy one more chance to prove him wrong is hard to say. What has not changed is the standard. Smith still expects Jeudy to show something that consistently justifies his roster position and his role as the number one option in that offense. So let us talk about the clip that got everyone's attention. Jeudy appeared in an off-season training video working through one-handed catches. He was aggressive going after the ball, attacking the catch point, and making grabs that required real concentration and hand strength. On the surface, it looked impressive, and honestly, it was impressive athletically. But when you understand the context around him, that video carries extra weight. This was not Jeudy posting a casual workout highlight. This was a direct response to the most specific criticism he has faced, that his hands and concentration cannot be trusted in critical moments. By working on one-handed catches, he was signaling that he knows exactly where his game needs improvement. He did not hide from the problem. He put the work on display. That matters for a few reasons. First, it shows self-awareness. A receiver who avoids the hard truth about his performance is a receiver who will repeat the same mistakes. If Jeudy truly understands that his reliability at the catch point has to improve, then that is the starting point for real growth. Second, it sends a message to the coaching staff, the quarterback room, and the younger receivers around him. It says the veteran is still working, still competing, and still motivated to be the best option in that room. However, and this is the critical part, the NFL does not hand out results for effort. The training video can shift the conversation for a week, maybe two. It cannot shift the reality of what happens when the Browns are in a 3rd and 7 situation with 2 minutes left in a tight game. Nobody in that stadium cares how the offseason looked. They care what happens when the quarterback delivers the ball. One-handed catches in a controlled environment are a tool, not a solution. They sharpen hand-eye coordination, build confidence in attacking the ball away from the body, and force the receiver to trust each hand independently. All of that has genuine value. But the moment live defenders enter the equation, when a safety is reading the quarterback's eyes, when a cornerback is draped on Jeudy's outside shoulder, when the throw is slightly behind him because the pocket collapsed, that is when the real test begins. A receiver can complete 1,000 one-handed catches in an empty field and still struggle when the moment demands everything at once. The drills build the foundation. Games reveal whether the foundation holds. Let us strip this down to its simplest form. The Browns are not asking Jerry Jeudy to reinvent himself as a receiver. Nobody expects him to suddenly become a possession monster or a red zone specialist if that was never his game. What Cleveland needs from Jeudy is far more fundamental than that. They need him to catch the footballs he is supposed to catch. That sounds simple. In professional football, it is not. Routine catches at the NFL level come with defenders, noise, game situations, and the memory of every previous mistake competing for space in a receiver's mind. But routine catches are also the baseline expectation for any professional at this level, especially one who has been given the opportunity Jeudy has. The drives that died because of drops last season represent real, measurable damage. On first down, a drop puts the offense in a reactive position. On third down, it takes points off the board and kills momentum. In the fourth quarter of a close game, it can be the difference between winning and losing. Every single time a catchable ball hit the ground last season, Cleveland lost something: yards, field position, quarterback trust, and coaching confidence. The quarterback relationship is where this becomes most urgent. Trust between a signal caller and a wide receiver is not built through big plays alone. It is built through repetition, through the receiver consistently coming back to the ball, making routine catches, and never making the quarterback question whether a targeted pass is going to be secured. When drops accumulate, that trust erodes. The quarterback begins to hesitate. He holds the ball a split second longer. He looks for another option. And that hesitation affects the entire offense. Shador Sanders, or whoever wins the quarterback competition in Cleveland, needs to know that Jeudy is the safe choice. Not just the talented choice, not just the guy who might make a spectacular play every few games. The safe choice. The receiver who, when the game is on the line and the offense needs one important conversion, will catch the football and move the chains. Cleveland is not pretending the youth movement is coming. It is already here. Rookie receivers and young developmental players are walking into camp with one goal: take snaps, earn targets, and prove they belong on an NFL roster. None of them came to Cleveland to sit behind Jeudy and watch. Harold Fannin Jr. at tight end showed last season that this offense has legitimate young options capable of being the most reliable pass catcher on the field. Wide receivers like Isaiah Bond and incoming draft picks are not just roster filler. They are legitimate competition, and in a system designed to attack multiple levels of the field, there is room for multiple contributors to emerge. That actually could benefit Jeudy in one specific way. If the passing game has enough weapons to distribute the ball around, Jeudy does not have to be the only answer. A defense cannot double him when there are other legitimate threats demanding attention. In theory, a deeper supporting cast means cleaner looks, less pressure on each individual catch, and more manageable one-on-one situations. But here is the other side of that. A deeper supporting cast also means there is less tolerance for mistakes. If the Browns have 3 or 4 receivers capable of creating offense, they have less reason to absorb Jeudy's drop issues. Every miscue becomes more costly when the alternatives are increasingly capable of delivering. This is the balance Jeudy has to navigate. He needs the supporting cast to take pressure off him, but he cannot use that same supporting cast as a reason to coast. The veteran has to lead. He has to be the receiver that everyone else in the room is trying to match, not the one they are quietly passing in the depth chart standings. This season does not only define Jerry Jeudy's role in Cleveland, it defines what his next contract looks like, what kind of team he attracts interest from, and ultimately how his career trajectory reads when he is no longer on the Browns roster. A strong 2026 campaign, consistent catches, improved reliability, fewer drops, and real production in meaningful moments repositions him as a legitimate receiving threat who had a rough year and responded. Teams around the league would see that film. Free agency conversations would change. His market value would increase. A disappointing 2026, more drops, continued inconsistency, tension with the coaching staff, or getting overtaken by younger players in the depth chart, tells a very different story. It confirms the narrative that the 2025 season was not a one-year anomaly, but an indicator of where his game actually is. That story is a much harder one to recover from when the season ends and decisions get made. Multiple analysts around the league have offered very different predictions. Some believe Jeudy has a legitimate opportunity to rediscover the form that made him a Pro Bowl candidate and one of the more dangerous receivers in football a couple of years ago. Others have gone as far as questioning whether he even makes the final roster. That range of opinion is unusual for a player of his experience and previous production. It tells you everything about how much uncertainty currently surrounds him. Here is the bottom line. Jerry Jeudy is talented enough to be a productive NFL wide receiver. His route running is still clean. His speed is still genuine. His ability to create separation against NFL defensive backs is not a question. The question has always been and remains what he does with the separation once he earns it. The one-handed catching video was a smart move. It addressed the criticism directly, showed the coaching staff and fan base that he is working on the specific problem, and generated positive momentum heading into a camp where he needs every advantage he can get. But smart moves in May do not win games in September and October. They only matter if they translate. The drops have to stop, not be reduced, stopped. Cleveland cannot absorb another double-digit drop season from their number one receiver, while younger players are sitting behind him proving they can finish plays. The margin for error is genuinely thin. Jeudy has the ability to flip this entire narrative with a strong training camp and a consistent early start to the regular season. A few critical catches in close games, a reliable connection with whoever starts at quarterback, and consistent production in third-down situations would change the conversation almost immediately. The media cycle moves fast, and NFL fans are willing to update their opinions when the film justifies it. But if the same patterns emerge, catchable balls on the ground, quiet performances in important moments, and younger receivers steadily building momentum behind him, this could be the last season Cleveland gives him the opportunity to be their answer at the position. That is the weight of this moment. Jerry Jeudy knows it, the Browns know it, and now everybody watching knows it. That is the full picture on Jerry Jeudy heading into 2026, and we want to hear from you right now. Do you believe Jeudy is going to fix the drops and come back as the reliable number one receiver Cleveland needs? Or do you think one of the Browns' younger pass catchers is about to step up and take his role? Drop your take in the comments. This is exactly the kind of debate we live for at a Sports Zone USA. If you are not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? We cover the real stories, no fluff, no filler, just honest sports analysis. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you never miss a video, and share this with someone who needs to hear the real talk on the Cleveland Browns wide receiver room. We will see you in the next one. This is a Sports Zone USA, where the game gets real.